Welcome to the Wincinnati podcast. I am Ace. He is Zim. This podcast is powered and sponsored and brought to you by BETUS. Make sure you check out their website and what they got going on. But it's Chiefs week, bro. It's Chiefs week. How are you feeling? I know it was a little testy the last episode that we had, but it's Wednesday, bro. It's time to move on. We're on to Kansas City. We're on to Arrowhead. I don't want to say the other word, right? I don't want to say the other word after week one. If week one would have been a whole other way, if Burton would have played, I probably would have used that one. But
that's a great name. Like that's a great name, bro. Like, and then I like how the fact you just say, yeah, it got a little testy. Because if y'all missed the last episode, y'all need to go back and watch it. Ace actually went off on that shot.
Bro,
everybody so used to me going off, they're like, oh, and then I just sat back. I was like, oh, all right, yeah, he cooking. So like, it is what it is. This team is very like the stupid stuff that we can't control, like the internal stuff that that's going on. It's very frustrating. You know what I mean? And it's a shame because people talk about windows and stuff like that, and as long as you got Joe Burrow, the window's open or whatever, but. Man, they are really messing up some things internally. I feel like when it comes to the contracts that we just went through all that crap, hopefully we can get that behind us. Jamar was full of practice today, but I do feel a lot better about.
But what about Tito? What about T?
I put this out. I don't know if we want to get right to. I put this out earlier. The Bengals need to be very proactive and assume that he is not going to be there. So this whole conversation about Burton and all that stuff accelerated. Is the reason why I was kind of saying all of that all this time. Is like everybody's like, oh, just wait, it'll be a natural thing. it'll naturally come. Like, bro, you're about to play the Chiefs. You about to go out there with Trent Irwin and Charlie drop the ball sizzle. Like that's your game plan because he knows the playbook. Like that doesn't work. That's not that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work.
Nah, we'll definitely get into it. We're gonna talk about Riskgate. I feel like Riskgate is back. We had some fun with it this summer. That's gonna be back. Also, we're gonna have the Bengals versus Chiefs preview. We'll be talking about that. We're gonna give you guys our Wincy Play of the Week. So shout out to BetUS with that. And then Give Me the Game Plan is back once again this season. So we're going to give you guys our game plan on what the Bengals need to do to get a victory in Burrowhead.
Hey, what's up, Bengals fans? Mike Hilton. I'm on the Wincinnati pod with Ace and Zim.
All right, man. We back here again. Riskgate. We did the Zoom in last time. If you guys watch that. If you haven't, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Go back and watch the Riskgate episode, but Riskgate continues. So Joe Burrow was asked about his wrist again. There were a lot of comments made on social media. A video went viral of Joe Burrow picking up a water bottle. Yes, you heard that right. Of Joe Burrow literally picking up a water bottle. So Joe was asked about that at the press conference today. So we got some video talking about that.
Water bottle discussion about how you picked up the water bottle in the game.
What did I do?
Apparently, it's just the way you picked it up that they said there might be something wrong with the wrist.
Oh, I picked it up weird?
Yes. Did you feel like you did?
I don't know. I drank water. I can't say I've seen that or know what anybody's talking about.
Feel great, ready to go. Good day of practice.
There's a lot of conversation about the flexing of the wrist, and so can you just explain kind of what's behind that, what's behind that kind of management?
Yeah, I'm doing that all the time. When you come back from injury, you're always trying to keep the joint loose. That's part of ligament injuries. If you don't move it, you're gonna lose it. So I'm always moving around, keeping it loose, keeping my mobility the way that it's supposed to be. So it's going to continue to happen. I do it at home. I do it here. I do it all the time.
How do you flex?
So I know the audio was a little low in that second video. Basically, what Joe is saying is they asked him about why is he like doing this with his wrist all the time on the sideline, and he's like, with a ligament injury, you just have to keep that kind of motion going, keeping it fluid, keeping it warm, because you don't want it to have any kind of issues. So when you guys see him, which a lot of the cameras did see Joe kind of flexing his wrist, moving it around, he said that that's just like a little maintenance thing. That's not something to be like a cause of concern. And he's just basically saying with these ligament injuries, that's typical and normal for people to be doing that. So if you see Joe Burrow flexing his wrist on the sideline, don't make a big video about it, or seeing him trying to, like he said, I was just trying to drink water. He didn't. Joe Burrow's in his own bubble. He doesn't even know that there's a video on Twitter with like 30,000 likes.
I
like,
believe him too. I believe him, don't you?
I think so too. I don't think he's on social media, like, especially after that game. He's not looking at like what's on Twitter. He's looking at like the film of that game and like trying to figure out, this is KC this week. Like, we locked in. So yeah, I don't think he's on social media right now. What are your thoughts about this whole like wrist situation? Because I know you were at the game. You kind of asked us about it, because from our view on the broadcast, they kept showing him walking around doing the joint and doing all of that the whole time. Right. And so I never saw him grimace. It really kind of looked very similar to what we've seen him do in practice. So I'm glad that he was able to come out here and like clear everything up. He said that the wrist thing is like not an issue at all. But some people are probably going to be like, if it was, he's not going to say anything. So what were your thoughts on like the whole wrist gate thing?
I just love the AFC North Roundtable show that I'm on, right? And it goes back to what I've been saying all along. I know that people are like political when they get online and they don't want to like look like complete like a-holes, but I'm telling y'all, that's all anybody outside the Bengals, that's all they talk about is like a solution to stop this dude. It's so much resentment towards Joe Burrow. I've never seen nothing like it. Like, I've never seen people openly talk about somebody's injury to the level that they talk about Joe Burrow. And I don't know. Like, I've never seen it like that. Maybe somebody else's fan base could tell me like maybe they did that to them too, or whatever. But they talk about it like that's the only thing that's going on. So from my standpoint, like you said, I was leaving the game. I didn't know anything about that because on the sideline, Browning never warmed up. Burrow was on the sideline doing his normal thing before. He had T handing the football. He was doing his normal thing on the sideline. I never at any point saw him like struggling with anything. So in my mind, I just was like sitting there like, where's all this coming from? The other part I was going to say is I've had a surgery on my shoulder. Anybody that's ever had a surgery, you understand that there's scar tissue and things afterwards. You also understand that you can have inflammation one day. You can have swelling. In my case, I had a pin move shift. I had to go back and do some things or whatever like that. He hasn't had that. What he's had is like what you're normally taught in rehab, and you have to keep it loose. Like to this day, my shoulder is still like funny. And so that part of it, the mental part of it, is the realism or the reality that he understands that his wrist probably will never be the same. And because of that, you nurture it. It's almost like a baby. When you have a surgery, anybody can attest to this. Whenever you have a surgery, you treat it like a child. So any instructions they give you, you listen to it. If the doctor or the rehabilitation process is telling you to get like do this and all that, you keep on doing that. If they're telling you that you need to keep on having motion with it or all these different things, you do that, and you're always cognizant of that. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean you're hurt. It just means that you have to protect it and you're moving accordingly. And it'll take him a while to get past that. So anybody that's thinking that he was going to come out there and never, the risk is never going to be a topic ever again, like, let me set the expectations for you. Like, it's going to be a thing in the sense that he just had surgery on it. But the thing that I took away from the game isn't the injury itself, but it's how is he operating mentally after that? Because he looked very reluctant. He looked very hesitant. He did have happy feet in the pocket. On the last drive, I'm talking high school throw. Jamar Chase says inside leverage, goes on an out route right at the sticks. High school throw for Joe Burrow. Doesn't even look his way, doesn't pull the trigger. On the third down, he had the out and ups on both sides. I know it's a 3x7. I'm gonna chill up. I'm gonna dumb it down some. I know that there were 7 defenders out there, and he had max protect on this play, but they're doing that purposely so that Joe wouldn't feel rushed. The pocket was good enough. It was an NFL pocket, and he didn't even look for it. And he had the one-on-one that you're looking for on both, or at least on one side. The other side is a little whatever. But those are the things that I'm like, damn, like mentally, does he think that he could throw it? Then he comes back out to practice today. He's throwing 50-yard bombs down the field. And I'm like, immediately the comments, rightfully so, are like, why didn't you do that in the game? I know that he looked at the clip after the game and said, damn, like I could have threw that. It's almost like the Super Bowl, except, you know, the last play on the Super Bowl, he's like, damn, you ever seen him go to the sideline? He's looking and he's like, damn, I had Jamar, didn't I? I felt like he could have said that throughout the game. So when he was doing that throughout the game, you get to the end, you know that it's there. You already know, and the fact that he didn't throw it, it really bothers me because that's not the Joe Burrow I'm used to.
Nah, for sure. I think, like we've said, I think from what we've expected from Joe, that fell way under the expectations. It's good to me though that he's got the memo, like I need to force it downfield no matter what. And those were things, even when he was healthy last year, that we kind of saw them not do. Like I can't recall how many times I'm like, look, just take a shot. Just take a shot, whether it's cover 2 shell with the 2 safeties over the top or not, just to keep them honest. But we know with this week being Chiefs week, that's not going to be the last time we see cover 2. This is a game where the Chiefs are a 6-point favorite at home. Bengals are going on the road. Last time we played them, albeit without Joe Burrow, the Bengals ended up falling in that one. But before that, the last time that Joe had seen Pat Mahomes, it was in the AFC Championship. Unfortunately, the Bengals lost. That's got to be weighing on Joe, especially coming off of the slow start, especially with all of the talk around him. There's been some crazy takes that I've seen, just reacting to week 1 that I feel like people have been sitting on for Joe Burrow in this game, in a waiting for him to have like a slip up like that. But this is an interesting game, man. Like when we talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, they are a team that every time we've seen them, it seems like every season, is somewhat of a different feel to each one of the teams that they kind of have, right? So now we're talking about a team that now has a lot more speed. I don't know if we're going to expect Hollywood Brown to be back. It looks like, according to the practice reports, he didn't practice today. But you're talking about now guys that are leading this offense like Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy. We got a new left tackle in Kingsley that's over there. So some new faces. And even from the Travis Kelce standpoint, at least if we're going off of week 1, it seems to me like he's taking a little bit of a backseat. They even utilized Noah Gray. But this is a team that still looks different. We got one of our old friends over there now, Samaje Perine, backing up Pacheco. This is a team that likes to run the ball, but also likes to utilize that speed with the receivers that they have there. And then the defense, I feel like we were kind of responsible for changing the defense that they had over there based off of the first time we played them. But this defense is a really good defense. I think that I can confidently say that I can give them their kudos. I don't think that their defensive coordinator, Spags, gets enough credit as being like one of the best in the league when it comes to that. So I respect them. I am just keeping it 100 when it comes to them. But this is the matchup that I feel like everybody's been kind of waiting for. A lot of people have been sleeping on it. Like, I don't know if it's because the Bengals had Joe Burrow go down last year and everybody's trying to find like the team for the Chiefs. But to me, it's always been these 2 teams. To me, it's always possibly going to be these 2 teams going forward. And this is, in my opinion, the first time that they're actually having this rematch of what happened last time, which was the AFC Championship. Obviously, the Bengals ended up losing that one in heartbreaking fashion. But this is the first time I feel like Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, like T got to play in this one, bro. But if he don't, like everybody's going to get up for this game. And so coming into this game, bro, like how are you feeling about – I know you're going to be out there. I know you're going to be out there to some of these Chiefs fans. They might be in their feelings because of what happened a couple of times ago. But what are your thoughts heading into this game against the Chiefs, especially with it being this early?
I think you have to respect it or you got to check it. And you got to respect them at this point. I've given people excuse me. I've been giving people the comparison of like, people talking about like that 3-1 record versus Mahomes, I feel like the Bengals fans use that as a defense mechanism. Like if you challenge us to a point, you bring it up because I'm like, bro, you're not about to talk to me like I've never won. You know what I mean? And so, but at the same time, you have to understand that they're world champions, and you got to respect that. And I think that has changed the dialogue or how the matchup is viewed is changed in that regard. At the same time, I think because you beat them before, you know it's possible. And in fact, out of all the other teams, they've had more success than any of the other teams. So those are things that you do know. I think that the first week showed a lot of what I think could be a big problem for the Bengals. When you go look at the game that the Chiefs had against the Ravens, you're watching Worthy in space. You're watching Rashee Rice strong, getting a running start on slants. You're watching like a lot of these different things on top of the fact that they didn't even really get in their Kelsey bag. They got in their Noah Gray bag. Like, so now they got these weapons that are now like maturated in their system. And these are different things that they haven't done, you know, to us before, or different guys that we haven't had to worry about in those games. I think Worthy in space and Dax Hill's tackling are have a magnifying glass on it for me in this game, because Cam Taylor-Britt has been playing pretty damn good in his last couple games that I've seen, like from this year, starting from this year, going back to last year or whatever. He's played well. And I think the matchup between him and Rice is something that he should welcome. And it's going to be, I think it's the key to the game. I think if Cam Taylor-Britt is able to be singled up with him, which is normally I probably wouldn't even say that, but them not having Marquise Brown out there as a deep threat, I think that it makes it so that you're able to allocate an extra person in space to help Worthy in space. Like if he gets, you know what I mean, like an extra linebacker, an extra safety in whatever you do to make sure that he doesn't get loose on you because you're not tackling well. Cam Taylor-Britt has to approach this matchup like how he did that DK Metcalf matchup last year. He has to disrupt the timing. Don't let him get a clean release. And it's easier said than done because if you get too tight up on him, he's fast and he's strong. So Cam Taylor-Britt is a big matchup that I think is the biggest key to the Bengals winning this game if they pull this off. And aside from that, they have to be able to tackle in space. They have to be able to tackle. So many people like myself talked about the defensive line being one of the bigger problems on this team. When you go back and rewatch the film, the defensive line, Tufele, Logan Wilson in support, and all these different things around the line of scrimmage were okay. When Ramondre Stevenson would get to a hole that had to be plugged by like ADG and tackling or Trey Hendrickson or something, they were getting washed. And then you had like a one-on-one situation with Dax Hill, a one-on-one situation with Geno Stone. And those are the things that they have to be able to tackle better. And generally, you can fix tackling. You get tougher mentally. You do a bunch of different things. I don't really worry about them as much in coverage as I think a lot of people do. I think there are going to be matchups later on this season where the Bengals secondary will dominate like pedestrian wide receiving cores. This isn't one of those matchups, but I do think that they have the ability to keep guys in check. But I do worry about that tackling at the second level. How about you?
Yeah, before I get into my take, just want to shout out once again our sponsor, BETUS. They're launching an exciting new promotion for influencers. So forget the 125% that they were giving you guys. They're now offering 150% on the first 3 deposits. So make sure that you can use that by using the promo code YouTube150. So head on over to BETUS, place your bet, use that promo code YouTube150, get that 150% off, and go ahead and place your bet. Now, back to my thoughts on this game. I think you made a really good point about the defense, right? Like you're talking about having these guys out here. It's going to be interesting how they play this. Like you said, Dax Hill has the speed to stick with a guy like Xavier Worthy, right? So is Dax the guy that you want out there? Where is CTB going to be at? They tend to like to let Rice play in the slot. So that's going to be interesting. Do you put a DJ Turner there? Are you going to trust Mike Hilton there? These are things that I want to see how Lou is going to end up playing it. how much of the emphasis is going to be put on Travis Kelce. The one thing that I can hang my hat on is that Lou knows exactly how to play the Kansas City Chiefs. He was the first one that kind of threw some things at them that they hadn't seen, and at points made Pat Mahomes look somewhat human in some of those games. So it'll be interesting to see what Lou decides to throw at him. It's going to be interesting to see health-wise where the Bengals stand at. From the defensive tackle room, that's something that you've talked about being concerned about. Now you talk about possibly BJ Hill being in that area. That is a cause for concern. And I think that they're going to try to establish the run like they did in that playoff game with Isaiah Pacheco. Bengals are going to have to wrap up. We talked about the 14 missed tackles that they had. That's a 6-year high that Lou has had. So obviously they got to be able to wrap up. But the biggest thing for me when it comes to the defense against their offense is getting pressure from Trey Hendrickson. I think Trey Hendrickson can be a game wrecker. Trey Hendrickson can be someone that can be effective for the Bengals because they've got Kingsley, the rookie, at left tackle going up against him. So I think that that's going to be something that's a major key. I think you have to keep everything in front of you with Pat Mahomes, drop back, having all of those guys 7-8 drop back into coverage. I think you try some of that. I also think you don't want to blitz Pat Mahomes. A lot of people are like, how can you get pressure on Pat Mahomes? He's amazing against the blitz. So you actually don't want to blitz him, but you got to stop him from extending those plays. We saw Jacoby Brissett be able to do that. That's pretty much his superpower. So you're never going to stop him from doing it, but you kind of want to limit him in those situations. So I think defensively, you just want to try to control that Chiefs offense, keep them from, exploding and keep them from ending up hitting those late 20, 30 point kind of plays that they tend to get once they get on the roll. So I think defensively, we just got to keep them in check, bro.
The last couple of years too, they've kept everything generally underneath. They're not like a deep passing team. That's what I think is a little bit different. Now they have the element that they can. I think the evolution of their offense throughout the year is going to put them back in where they were like 2021, where you had the fear of Tyreek Hill at some point. Like the storm is brewing. When by the time they get Hollywood Brown there, this storm is brewing. There's a lot of weapons out there. And it happened.
And then they got Juju back too. I don't think they use them much.
Yeah,
but Juju is in the cut too. I think it's kind of a culmination of this team of different asset or different.
They're multiple. They're multiple.
Yeah, they're pretty much multiple. It's a mix of the Tyreek Hill with the Pacheco with a little bit of the Travis Kelce offense. It's all of that kind of combined. It's almost like this is the final boss since they're trying to do this three-peat thing.
I really think so. It really is. Whoever knocks them off this year, it will be considered one of the. It's going to be an upset, and this has the makings of being that. I think it's so early in the season. I don't know if it will hit people like that, but by the time they get on all cylinders, it could be. I do think one thing that could kind of trap them. For one, I think it's more pressure on them to win this game. I do feel like that they're at home. They don't want anybody thinking that the Bengals had their number with Joe Burrow. So you got that there. And they got all this. I feel like fans kind of take on the energy of their team. That team and the energy around their fans coming back to us even after they won a Super Bowl, coming back and saying, talking trash. I'm like, but y'all just won a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? There's a lot of vitriol and hate for the Bengals because we're the one blip in their story that would. We might be talking about them already having a three-peat had they not lost to us in 2021. In the 2022, you could see the celebration when they won that game. You know what I mean? That was, excuse me, that wasn't that long ago. You know what I mean? That was that was the beginning of 2023. That wasn't that long ago. So in that game and all these different things, sometimes you get revved up for something like that, and then when it doesn't happen the way that you think it does, it kind of catches you off guard. One thing that I think that they could trap themselves into doing is I think the quick game for them would kill the Bengals. But I do think that there's a world that they could look at that tape and say, we want to run the football more. And imagine you running. And like I said, the defensive line wasn't bad. If you really go back and watch that game, they weren't getting pushed around like everybody thinks. It was really like the guys that were supposed to clean it up that didn't. I could see them getting themselves into trouble trying to run the ball or like pound the rock and then getting themselves in long distance stuff by not having successful runs. And then it simplifies the game for the Bengals. If I were the Chiefs, I would come out quick game, like Rice out in space, Worthy out in space, like and just speed the game up. If they slow it down, I almost feel like it works in the Bengals' favor because if they're not getting touchdowns off of that, even Pat on third, I think Osai needs to play more. I think he's got, you talked to me about that one time before, is that revenge on his mind. You got the Trey Hendrickson that going to get home. Like, Trey going to get there. Right. And you got these different things that I'm like, if they get themselves in a spot where they try to do too much running and it doesn't give them touchdowns, and then Shiesty just wakes up, like if he just wakes up, it puts points on the board. It's a different dichotomy to that you don't see from other teams. Normally, if they don't do that, then the other quarterback really doesn't match them like that. Joe Burrow's one of the only, like, they haven't played Stroud yet. I think that he probably has the ability to do it. But Burrow is one of the few that can match you if he's on. But after week one, I understand our fan base probably like, man, I don't know. I really went back and looked. There are some throws that I think will be there for him. And there are some personnel units, like 12 personnel, where they are throwing out of it that I do think can have some success in this game. But it has to be in a situation where the Chiefs are like slowing the game down almost for them. If it's fast, I think that's all in the favor of the Chiefs. I really do. But that's the one opening that I could see them having because of Burrow. And that's why Burton is so important to me. If they could get out there, man, I really think that he could change this game. And he's the only one because I don't anticipate T. Higgins playing. Do you?
No. And speaking of T. Higgins, our guy here, Odessa, says that now will be a great time to extend T. They could use his history of hamstring issues to get a club discount. 4-year, $72 million. That would technically be illegal. The Bengals cannot negotiate anything with T. Higgins until the start of next season. So, unfortunately, that's a great idea, but they wouldn't be able to use it right now. So,
what about a trade?
Trade is definitely on the table. I wouldn't do that though. Like if you're trading T. Higgins, to me that means that you're not trying to win the Super Bowl, in my opinion. Now, if it gets to that, go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you one scenario, not for a wide receiver and not for picks. I looked at this. Now, I'll be man enough to say, in hindsight, I was wrong because I do think that the T. Higgins thing is problematic throughout the season. Like, if he's going to be like iffy every week, which I didn't anticipate, because I'm thinking like he's going to play for a contract. Obviously, he doesn't feel as though he has to push it to the limits, or maybe his agent doesn't, and he could just get the money afterwards. I didn't anticipate that. But I will say this. There are guys out there like a Dexter Lawrence who, is amazing, and the Bengals have money coming out the books with like a BJ Hill, Sam Hubbard. If you go look at somebody's contract like his that he just got like 28, 25 million. I know this is a crazy of a pipe dream, but what kind of team could take on a T. Higgins contract like after the fact? It would be a team that has a really good wide receiver on a 4-year that's on a rookie deal, like Malik Neighbors. But that's a team that could take on that type of contract. And you say, well, it wasn't guaranteed that T. Higgins would have a deal later on. So why would the Giants sign up for that? Mulligetta has connections like you wouldn't believe. If he can get a handshake deal and say whatever, I could see something like that. That would be a crazy scenario, but that's the only type of person I think that I would do. And that would be like if the Giants were like in a free fall mode and they're just selling out because they already know they're going to move out from Daniel Jones. This is like 4 or 5 weeks later at this point. Like they're in a rebuild and they know it. And Bengals are in contention. They're like 5-3, 4-2. And I'm telling you, the same way they went and got Reader, they know that they're going to have to get something like that. But to me, that's the only scenario that it could.
My only thing they would have to be playing Burton. They would have to be playing Burton, and I would have to see from Yoshi's standpoint that is kind of doing this thing. That would be the only way that I could even consider it. But I think when it comes to this offense, man, they've got to hit the ground running against this Chiefs defense. The Chiefs, I'm just not so sure like they were tested for the most part from a receiver standpoint with Baltimore because Baltimore's receivers are limited. Like it's basically just Zay Flowers and the Flowerettes over there. So I don't feel like they had a true test. Now Isaiah likely was able to do whatever he kind of wanted to on their defense. So that makes me wonder, like, where is the McDuffie and Chase matchup? Is it going to be in the slot? I know that we did have Jamar Chase in the slot a lot last week. When Jamar Chase goes outside of the slot, are you really going to let, Watson be the guy that covers him? Is it going to be Connor, like Shamari Connor? Like, I don't know if I'm them. Like, I know that they'll tell you that they're confident. I don't know if their coaching staff is confident on that. I mean, then you take a look at the safeties, the guys that we know, Brian Cook and Reed. But this is an underrated defense. To me, the biggest thing to focus on is Chris Jones. Like Dana, Karlaftis, like let them do whatever they need to, but Chris Jones cannot be a guy that wrecks this game. That's literally the guy that ended the AFC Championship game. So for me, that's the person that I'm kind of putting my focus on. I think that Orlando Brown Jr. will be fine. I think that Trent Brown will be fine, but we have to make sure that the center of that line, and I'm going to be honest, the Kappa matchup with him kind of scared. I don't know about that, bro. Alex Kappa against Chris Jones, the way Alex Kappa kind of got cooked last week, like, and he hasn't really, I'm going to be honest, Kappa hasn't really looked good the past couple of seasons, honestly, if we're keeping it a bean. So that's a matchup that cannot wreck this game. I hope that they get him like double team help with Karras and whatever that they need to do because – yeah, that was the issue for Baltimore last week was having that be a weakness, and he was able to make some plays against them. But I think offensively, man, they got to take those shots. We already know what time it is. Jamar Chase, this is a minimum of 11 targets that I'm going to say has to go to Chase.
Do you think they do it, though? Do you think they
do I'm giving – in this game, I'm giving Jamar Chase like 15, 16 targets. It has to – to me, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but if I'm going down swinging to the Chiefs, he's got to get 15 targets, bro. Like I don't care what they do. Like if you can move Jamar Chase around throughout the slot, outside, like I know they don't like to do motion too much. They got to start doing stuff like that, bro. Like put Jamar in the backfield like they've done before at times. Get any kind of creative way you can get the ball into Jamar Chase's hands. You literally have to do that, bro. Like Burton, of course you need Burton plays. Are they going to do it based off of the quote that you shared with me from earlier? That sounded like a lot of coach speak, bro. I'm going to keep it a buck. It's like, oh, he's just coming along like these other guys. And it's like, bro, he is not the other guys. He is not a guy that, to me, was a late round pick or something like that where you had to figure out whether this guy could play ball or not. This guy came from a major program, 2 national championship type programs. So to me, he should be ready. But I can't hang my hat on that. But I will hang my hat on Jamar Chase and guess what? Mike Gesicki. Because if Isaiah Likely can do what he did, I feel like Gesicki is very similar in terms of his skill set. He'll be able to be utilized the same type of way. I would love to see them use him that way. Zach Moss, if they can get the run going, which at times and at points they were able to, they got to get him going as well. Chase Brown in the screen game needs to be used, and he's got to get more runs, man. I went and looked at the carries. Like the Bengals ran the ball 12 times. Let's just start there. They ran the ball 12 times last week, which is crazy. Like when you take the Joe Burrow snaps out of there, the runs out of there, they only had 12 runs. They have got to somewhat establish the run, at least make them respect the run to the point where they cannot just sit in cover 2 shell the whole time or run that majority of the time. I think someone actually said that the Patriots didn't run it as much. So I haven't looked at the film myself, but we know that when the game is on the line, that's what people are going to run. You got to be able to show them that you can run the ball throughout that look and be able to be effective. So for me, man, they just got to be balanced on offense. They can't have any turnovers. and they gotta match Kansas City, because I feel like if Kansas City comes out and put 7 on the board, we got to go get 7. We got to go get 7 every time. If we don't get 7, we got to get 3 from our kicker, Money Matt. We know that he's going to be able to do his thing, but we got to come into it. Like, I get it. I agree with you. Like, the pressure's on them. I feel a little pressure is on us though too, because like starting 0-2, I don't want to hear these narratives like, here go the Bengals again. Like, are the Bengals like? Because depending on how this game goes, like if it's a Baltimore type game, like where we're in there to the end and then we lose,
right?
Sure. But if it's like the Chiefs win by 7 or 8 points, they're gonna be like, oh, the Bengals aren't this and that, which. Who cares, honestly? But I think for our psyche, we need to know, all right, that Patriots game, let's get rid of that. We just beat the Chiefs. Let's keep that momentum going, especially if we want to win the North.
I feel like if the Bengals were to get out there and I'm gonna go homer all the way. I think the Bengals can win this game. I do think that they can win this game, right? But I can't see a scenario where if they don't win the game and they put up points on the board, I wouldn't be mad either. Because honestly, like right now, like one thing that I can say is, one thing that gets removed from like the context of us playing the Chiefs in all those games mattered. Like if you really go back, the first time we played them, their number 1 seed was on the line, and we were fighting for our playoffs lives. That was like that's like my favorite Bengals game, right? Bro throws for 446. Jamar Chase has 266. Like that's a game. Then we saw him again. It's in the playoffs. It's in the AFC Championship game. Then we see him again. It's in a December matchup where seeding is on the line again. Then we see him again, and it's in the playoffs in the AFC Championship game. This is the only matchup that we've ever had that doesn't have ramifications tied to it. And I don't know. That's why I feel like the pressure of like the season being over type thing, I don't think that that's there if the Bengals were able to like consistently put points on the board. If they walked out of here with like 27 and then the defense just got like routed and put up like 30 or something, I think most people would chalk it up as like, well, the Chiefs offense is just cooking this year. If Burrow is cooking like that, how many teams would you see that would have that type of firepower? So, like, that's one way of looking at it. But I do realistically think that if they work off of some different things that they had last week, I'm going to go into the Chase Brown bag that they didn't do. They only ran one screen last week to, I think, the Zach Moss, and it was successful. I think those are the things, if you incorporate some of that Jake Brown playbook, those are some of the things that they could do to help themselves get the linebackers moving sideline to sideline. Because Leo Chanel had a good game last week, right? And I value him probably higher than the other one, the other linebacker, Bolton. I really think that he's a dog. But one thing that they have to do that they didn't do last week with the Patriots is get the defense moving sideline to sideline. Every time that Burrow stepped back last week, everything is just like this arc of a bubble where everything is just like keep everything in front of you, keep everything. The one way that you can move that is help them out with misdirection. I'm not a big fan of naked boots or whatever, but naked boots and different things like that, screens, different things to catch people off guard and get guys thinking or whatever. And so they're not just driving to the football. Every single time that the Bengals threw anything underneath, the Patriots, they made it so easy where they're just driving to it. If the Bengals could run even pick plays, different things like that to isolate Jamar. Another thing that people aren't talking about is last week, Jamar Chase was literally kind of off the couch. Never really had a full practice like that. Him starting off the week like that, being a part of the game plan, no walkthrough, straight up practicing off the beginning of it is very important. Your point about getting him targets, they have to get him that. It has to be 10 plus targets. For his career, Jamar averages over 75 yards a game. That is not light numbers. If somebody has 75 yards a game, that's like a 1,200-yard season. Somebody do the math for me. But either way, they have to get him involved. The Burton thing, they got to get proactive with this right now. Because if they think that they're going to go to Kansas City and with Chuck Fizzle and Trent Irwin, the rubber band man, is not happening.
We've seen Trent Irwin and Arrowhead. We've already seen this before.
I seen him when Tyler Boyd went out. He got clamped. And so anybody that's just like, man, he doesn't know the play, but I got confirmation that Burton knows all the route tree of X. So the X receiver route tree, which is shared by who else? T. Higgins. They could fast track this thing now. You look around the league and you see when people play young players and they have success, it always is a good thing. When you're holding guys back and don't know what you have, remember how Mitchell Trubisky and Kenny Pickett, the reason why they wasted 2 years is because they were playing the stagnant Mitchell Trubisky. They didn't have the luxury to find out what they had in Kenny Pickett. So they found out too late. So they wasted 2 seasons just off that. And now look at them this year. Justin Fields, you got to see what you got off the break. Now, it was Russell Wilson with the injury or whatever, but now you could build off of that. If you don't play guys and you don't give them the opportunity to do so, then how do you know what they can do later on? Do y'all want to go into the next season saying, man, we got to still figure out how Burton works in his offense? Get him out there and see what does he look like. If you saying that he don't know the playoff, you'd be so surprised, and you know this as a coach. You'd be so surprised at some guys that don't practice that well sometimes or don't look that great that wake up in games. And sometimes it's the exact opposite. Guys that are doing really good in practice see the bright lights of Kansas City and they fail. So I don't want to go out there with that. I'm utilizing Chase Brown out in space. I'm utilizing Burton on deep threats, and I'm utilizing Jamar Chase at we're going to live
Eric
and die.
All too. Eric All, I'm utilizing him too.
Yes, the 12 personnel of the Bengals is another tactic. They have to slow the game down to make sure that slowing the game down is cool if you're cooking on third down. So they also have to be efficient. But if they can get into their 12 personnel bag, you saw Amari Smith practicing today. If they could bring him in jumbo packages in conjunction with the 12 personnel, maybe I wouldn't be as strong on the Burton thing. But when it is time for Burton to get out there, don't have him out there blocking. Send him out there. See what you look like. Even if you don't throw the ball to him, see what it looks like. Let Burrow come back to the sideline, Zach, and take a look and say, hey, look, we can go to this later. Do this in the first quarter. We could go back to this in the fourth quarter. This game gets anywhere like whatever, and we need something. We know that we get this look, we can get that. You don't know, and you can't get that information if you don't put it out there. I would hate to look back later in week 8 and y'all telling me, bro, why the hell didn't we play Burton? For the people that's talking about some playbook or something like that. He knows the X route tree. Fast track this T. Higgins thing. Forget all this crap about is he going to play? Man, tell him sit over there and just work on the rehab field. Like, I'm dead serious. Like, we don't have time for figuring out how he works with a game plan. We're on the battlefield right now, ready to go do this. And so you can't be talking about we're going to work that in later. Like, that's not real life and that's not real football. You got to get it in right now or you're going to get your ass whooped.
Sense of urgency, man. And that's what the Bengals didn't show last week, was a sense of urgency. With the Burton situation, they need to show a sense of urgency. If this game isn't enough to get you to play Burton, I don't know what is. Herman, appreciate that, man. He gave us a super chat. 15 plus targets like the Arizona game. Win the time of possession. Completely agree with him there. But before we get into more from this game, let's go ahead and make what we're calling our Wincy pick of the week. So shout out to our sponsor, BETUS. We got some items that we like this week. So you got Cincinnati here, plus 200 against Kansas City, money line straight up, right? So I'm thinking I might go there. We got some other game props here as well. For the first scoring play of the game, could it be a Bengals CD? Could it be a Bengals field goal? Bengals any other score is crazy. I'm guessing if that's like a pick six or something like that. I'm kind of feeling the money line right now. Mm-hmm. Where are you sitting? I feel like plus 200 is great value, bro. All the Bengals have to do is win this game. I know you said you don't want to bring up the 3-1, right?
And I'm gonna tell you, a lot of money got placed on the Bengals because this line was at 6.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, let it ride.
Yeah, I'm chat. Let me know what you guys think. I'm thinking that I'm taking the money line plus 200, man.
Right.
200. Let me place a little quick 100 on this one. You know,
and Bengals fans, make sure, or anybody, make sure y'all get on the BETUS. Currently right now, easy
what matter of fact,
interface.
let's go with the 150, man. They giving us the 150. 150 is
Get it.
gonna bring you back 300. Let's go ahead and lock that in. Let's get it. Yup, I'm confirming
Double
it.
or
So
nothing. All right,
150
I'm gonna help you
to
out
win
with that. I'm gonna
300.
give you. We lost a little bit last week. Do you know that Zach Moss, the over on the 46 that we've been posting, he had 44 yards. Had the Bengals just had like one more possession, he would have hit that. So we were very close on that one. But let's get to
Yeah, we gonna get y'all some money. We're gonna get y'all some money back, right? So as you guys saw, we kind of messed those ones up, but hey, we're gonna get it back. We're gonna get it back this week.
I feel like, don't you feel like when we bet on here, like my own betting slip is different than the betting slip on here? The betting slip on here is more like encouraging to make sure that like we keep good spirits.
Nah,
And we
my betting slip is like this one right here. I'm giving the
okay,
people what I would do in this situation. Me
okay,
right now, like William Wilson, I'm with you, bro. I'm taking that plus 200. Like, let's get that money back from last week.
for
You
sure.
can't really beat that, in my opinion, especially with this being a team and the history that these two teams have. You know, obviously it's a 50-50, but I feel like you got good odds, especially with the Bengals coming off of a disappointing game against the Patriots, going back to Arrowhead, a place where Joe Burrow is very familiar with, and is probably thinking, we already know Joe is wired different. Like you said, he's not paying attention to no water bottle thing. He's thinking about Arrowhead AFC Championship. This is where I was last time I was here. So take that plus 200. Sign up with BetUS. They're going to be able to give you that 150%. YouTube 150 is the promo code. Make sure you tap in with them. But yeah, that's where I place my bets at, BetUS. So shout out to them for sponsoring the show and helping us play some bills. But from another standpoint on this, what are some things that the Bengals can do? Like, what's the game plan? I know we've talked a little bit about our game plan. I know we jumped a little bit around here and there, matchups and all of that.
Right.
Give me your actual game plan for winning. Like,
Okay.
these three things have to happen for the Bengals to go and walk out with a W.
The Bengals, first and foremost, need to be able to tackle. And if they don't, they'll get slaughtered. That's number one. Number two is they need to slow the game down. They're going to try to play a game of efficiency. They don't want all the quick passing of Mahomes or Rice. Like you want them, you almost kind of want to bait them. And even if bro goes off, I'd rather get Pacheco have 150 yards rushing than to have Mahomes throw for 380 or something crazy, because you're slowing the game down. So I would invest like a lot of resources in coverage, in tackling, in tackling in space. I would get Jordan Battle out there a lot more on early downs. I'll also bring in Meta in this game too. I don't know about him in coverage, but he's so instinctive that I feel like, Logan Wilson popped up on the injury report with a knee earlier this week. I think like if Cowboy even plays, you got to figure out a way to get guys that are instinctive like Jordan Battle and Meta in there to be able to tackle. If you don't do that, you're cooked. The third thing is simplify everything for Joe Burrow early in this game without making it so simple and stupid like it was last week. So when I say that, it's easy reads, easy stuff like screens and stuff early in this game, just to get him in rhythm. I was watching a Curry video the other day, and he's talking about how he doesn't start off just shooting threes. He starts in closer, then he starts hitting, and then that muscle memory start working. And Joe Burrow's all about reps. And once he gets in his zone, he cooks. But you got to make it simple for him. And sometimes I want to run the ball early in this game. I'm not necessarily saying that you got to try to run the ball and set yourself up for long and distance, because I think it could hurt him. If they aren't successful in those runs, then it could put you in a bad spot. And you don't want to be in 3rd and 9 with Chris Jones going up against Alex Kappa. So that's why I'm like early downs, simplify it. Give them short, efficient throws, kind of like last week. That's fine on those early downs. On 3rd down or whatever, 2nd down, if you have better field position, or if you got a punter punting like that, you're going to have to take some shots. But that's part of it being simple. Simple reads, simple one-on-ones. If he gets any cover 3 looks like he did last week, he should be in trigger mode to pull it. If he gets in there and he sees any variation after that ball is snapped and he sees a safety come down, he needs to go into his one-on-ones. I don't care who it is. If it's Yoshi, I'm taking it. If it's Jamar, I'm taking it. If that's Gesicki, I'm taking it. And you'll get that information, sometimes not pre-snap because you're going against a very savvy defense. But I think some of the simplifying stuff early on could make them show their hand. And they got to get into that bag because them thinking that they're going to dink and dunk down the field is a tough game to play. It doesn't really work that way. It works on some teams, but if you're not converting on third downs, it makes it so that what you saw at the beginning of the game last week, 3 straight 3-and-outs, it's very tough if you're throwing the ball consistently in front of the chains to go just tell guys to break tackles because everybody's waiting on it and they're sitting on different things. But if you can get misdirection going, screens and different things and counters coming at the very beginning of the sequence of plays, then you can get the defense to shift. And that's all they need to do. And once they start to shift, then Burrow can get into his bag. And he can't, and this is my 4 point. Burrow cannot be pedestrian. He's got to be that guy. And I hate to put the whole thing on him, the whole game on him or whatever, or put that much pressure on him. But even though it's a week 2 game, Burrow got to be him. He got to be 9. And when 9 comes out there for real, and shoots, he's got to do that. If he doesn't shoot and he goes into Andy Dalton mode like he did last week, you're cooked.
Nah, for sure. I think some of the keys that I got, like you said, passing game overall just has to be better. I think when it comes to utilizing Jamar Chase, that's going to be a major factor. Joe's got to come out, like Zim is saying, doing his thing, playing shiesty. So that's key number 1 for me. Key number 2, proving the run defense. Like, we got to be able to stop Isaiah Pacheco. We got to be able to stop them from picking up key, third down conversions and stuff like that. So run defense is key. Getting them off of the field, making them more predictable is going to help the Bengals defense in this one. Third one, got to win the turnover battle. Got to force turnovers, got to get turnovers. Pat Mahomes was able to give one up last week to the Baltimore Ravens. Those are things that this offense and this defense are going to have to take advantage of. Got to win the turnover margin. Cannot turn it over on their end from that standpoint. So I know last time we played them in the AFC Championship, we had some turnovers. We can't allow that to happen. The offensive attack has to be balanced so that it's not predictable against this too high shell that they're likely going to run. So you got to be able to make sure that you're establishing a run with Zach Moss. Then you also need to be able to have the threat of screens, throwing guys off balance, like Zim was kind of talking about earlier, so that it's not predictable. You got to have the threat of the run there in order for things like the screen and all of that to work. So hopefully they can get that going. And then, of course, you got to slow down the Chiefs playmakers. We saw what Rashee Rice was able to do. We saw what Xavier Worthy was able to do. Travis Kelce, we know what these guys can do. If they can do that, that helps give them a great chance to win this week. So with that being said, let's toss it to the great folks over at Midwest Best Barbecue.
Front wings and them CTBs. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. It's the Ace into the Zim, M into the B's. Uno wings, G-Front wings and them CTBs. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. Say what up to Jordan Battle. We be going to battle. Intercepting balls like CTB did on Seattle. Putting 6 up on AZ. Juice gang amazing. Make sure you come get these wings, cause Zimby stay blazing. And T-Game be smooth as ice. Jamal making DBs fold. TV got big levels, and now you already know. It's so pretty for Uno wings. Cam got the new wings. We call them CTBs. Only at MBs. H to the Zim, M into the B's.
Shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue, 669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio. Make sure you stop in and get you some Uno wings, especially for those that are going to be watching the game from home that might not be making the trip to KC. Get you some of those Uno wings, get you some of those CTB wings, get you some of those Dillinator wings, or if you're not in the mood for wings and you want to switch it up, get you some brisket, pulled pork, pork ribs, whatever it is that you like to eat. Midwest Best Barbecue has it for you. All the comfort food that you could imagine. Great sides, great atmosphere, great people. Zim was just up there last week. Great Bengals fans, great atmosphere. If you want to watch the game there, that's a possible option as well. So make sure you check out Midwest Best Barbecue. Once again, that address is 669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio. Go ahead, Zim.
The little girl that's in that video, we were doing like contests and stuff, and at Midwest, you know, in Wincinnati, me and Eric from Bengals Post. Make sure y'all go check that show out under the Wincinnati umbrella. But the little girl, and her name is Alyssa, is the funniest person I've ever met in my life. Like, that little girl has got so much character, and they got so many good people over there. And I really encourage you guys to go over there. They didn't have ribs last week, but they told me this week coming up, they are going to have ribs. So everybody was really, they had wings in there that were going crazy as always. But they got like these little sweet potato pies that are like hot, and they got these little small brownies that they did. They got these other little donut balls that are like hot, like almost like funnel cake. They got some crazy stuff, and all of it is so clean and so good to me. Like, I hate greasy food. I talk about that all the time when I cannot stand greasy food. All of their stuff there, none of it is greasy. That is like my number one takeaway, and it's just it's good, clean eating. The preparation that they do on the wings and everything. Please go check it out. Midwest Best Barbecue, the best place in the earth.
Yep. Shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue. And as you guys know, our Wincinnati podcast is live every Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next time we see you guys will be next week. We'll be recapping what happened with the Bengals game in Kansas City and then Burrowhead. Thanks you guys for tuning in to the Wincinnati podcast.
Yeah.